I'd like to welcome everyone to this afternoon study session for the Mesa City Council for Monday, June 3rd, 2013. Councilmember Higgins is on the phone. She's here?
She's here but not here.
Okay. She's here but not here.
She's present
Profound.
or absent.
Okay. I'm assuming she's running late. Okay, the first item on the agenda is to review tonight's agenda for our regular council meeting. Page 2, items 2 through 4A. Items 4B through 5A. Items 5B and 5C. Items 5D and 5E. Items 5F through 5H. Items 6A through 7B. Items 7C through 7J.
Mayor, if I may.
Mr. Wesley.
Too quiet up here, so I'll interject something at this point. On item 7D, we noticed this afternoon that we have a slight mistake here on the description. In that item Z, 1323, it refers to South Mountain Road in two places. That should say South Meridian Road. And so we'll read it into the record that way. Upstairs is Meridian Road. And then also on item 7E, which is annexation A1301, we recognized a couple of errors in the annexation ordinance this afternoon that we need to correct for this was read in this evening. One is on page 2 of that ordinance. It refers to the acreage of the property as being 17 acres when it's what's correct here on the agenda, which is a 35.79 acres. So we'll be correcting that on the ordinance. And then on page 3 of the ordinance, there's an item 2 that refers to the plat. This area is not platted, it's a mobile home park. And so we're just going to remove that paragraph 2 from the annexation ordinance.
Okay. All right, items 7K through 9B. Items 10A through 12A. Vice Mayor?
If we could pull off item 11 off consent, but I just want to take a moment, if I could, to express appreciation to the budget office and the staff. Many people don't know they came in on their days off working hard to put this together and putting a lot of effort into it. And I want them to know I really appreciate it and been wonderful to communicate with them and try and, look as things that have been looked at. So thanks so much, Candace, and to your staff.
Okay, item 11 is off the consent agenda.
And Mayor, maybe we should, this would be a good time just to kind of review what the tentative budget's included, because there's some one-time elements in this tentative budget that have not been in our tentative budget calculation in the past.
Well, would you say a one tiny element?
One time.
One time element. Gotcha.
And one of them is actually related to the action council's taking tonight. So why don't you just review with those specific items that are on there.
Mayor and Council, we do want to let you know or inform you that within our tentative budget that you're adopting today are two items that were not in last year's budget and do increase our tentative budget maximum. One is the access to care that you received a briefing on a couple weeks back. If you recall, that was an assessment that the hospitals wanted us to assess against them so that we would collect that money so that we could draw down federal funds on their behalf. Because we are drawing it down on their behalf, we do need to include it in our adopted budget for our expenditure limitation purposes. For that purpose, there is $30 million in the tentative 13-14 fiscal year budget to accommodate that particular action item that we'll be doing.
Okay, now, once again, I know we went over this, but just so everyone's clear, even though that's in our budget, we are acting as a conduit on that, and that is not a cost to the citizens of Mesa, correct?
That is absolutely correct, Mayor. That is just, we are a pass-through mechanism that allows them to draw down those federal funds that need to come through the city of Mesa. For that purpose and that purpose alone, we need to include it in our maximum expenditure limitation by state statute.
And one of the other things that I think has not been made clear is that assessment, one of the conditions we this council placed on that assessment is that it would not be a pass-through to patients, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so this is an assessment on the hospitals which they cannot and will not pass through to their patients, which enables them access to certain federal funds, which will then reimburse or help them cover uncompensated costs.
That's correct.
All right, but we have to show it on our budget in order
We
to
have to
show
show
that
it because we are actually drawing down the funds on their behalf. It is working as a grant pass-through, like any other federal funding that we would pass on to somebody else through another organization, and therefore we have to show it within our expenditure limitation. And so that's why we're setting our
At the end of
expenditure
the day,
limitation at $30 million.
it's 30 million in, 30 million out.
That's
It's a
correct.
zero impact, net impact, but because it's included as a disbursement, we're not approving a revenue, what we're approving is a maximum expenditure budget.
That's
And therefore,
correct.
it's included in that.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, what's the other item?
The other item is our highway project advancement notes. Each year, we receive funding from Arizona Department of Transportation for the purposes of repaying the interest on those notes. In 13-14, we will actually be accelerating some of that repayment of the principal, which is an increase to the budget of about $20 million. So we'll receive those revenues from Arizona Department of Transportation, and we will forward those on to pay back some of our highway project acceleration notes.
So
that's
that's
in
good
20
news for the city that we're going to get repaid for the dollars we put up front for that project, and we're going to
Correct.
come as scheduled, but it's $20 million earlier, or more than what
More
we've had
than
in
we
the
had.
past. So we need to recognize that in the tentative budget.
So those
Once
two items
again,
together
This
about...
is actually a net
Correct.
positive for us. This is not a
This is a
expenditure.
good thing for us.
Okay. All right.
It's reimbursing us, again, because of the expenditure limitation rules, we do need to include it in our expenditure limitation maximum.
Okay.
So that's $50 million of items that are really not zero effect to the citizens of Mesa, zero effect to our operating budget.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Zero net effect.
Net effect.
Yeah, there is an effect.
There
Zero
is an
net
effect.
Okay.
There's not a net
Things
effect.
go in and things go out. We end up with
Exactly.
a great big zero. I couldn't think of anything that rhymed without
Do you want to do the water? Which,
without saying I was going to pout.
I'm sorry.
Mayor, if I might,
Sidebar conversation going on.
that we're-
I'm still trying to figure out what words rhyme with out, besides pout and scout and lout and flout. Go ahead.
I think Candace wants to make a recommended change to an ordinance on 7H,
Yes.
the water
okay.
utility. And if the council is agreeable to this change, when it is introduced tonight, it will be introduced as revised as we discuss here in the study session, so it can remain on the consent agenda.
So the ordinance that we're introducing tonight regarding the water rates, we want to make one minor change, and that is schedule number WR 3.3. It does not currently have any customers. It had the wrong rate schedule attached to the ordinance, so we would like to delete it from the ordinance, and we'll make those correcting. We were just doing some corrections on that. It has no effect to any customers.
WR 3.3? You're kidding me. That was my
WR
favorite
3.3.
page. 3.3?
3.3.
Okay.
So what we'd like to do is to go ahead and strike that from the ordinance. When you approve it upstairs, we will have it read in that it would be as revised in the study session. That would allow it to be introduced in the manner that we'll be approving it on the 17th.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you. Acknowledge receipt of minutes of various boards and committees. Motion from Councilmember Glover, second from Councilmember Kavanaugh. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Here reports on meetings and conferences attended. Any reports? They're deciding whether you attended anything or whether you want to report on that. Yep. Okay. I guess I'll report on the grand opening out at Eastmark. Exciting to see the ribbon cutting at Eastmark, which is the former General Motors Proving Ground, or at least portion of it, the first development phase of the former General Motors Proving Ground. Community, the first issue, well, I guess it's not the first development. First Solar was the first development. So the second development, 700-plus homes that were up for sale, and I understand they had a big crowd out there on Saturday also. So congratulations to DMB and the 7 home builders, I think, that are out there. I think 7 home builders that are out there. Very, very, very nice to see that finally come to fruition. I think it's going to be something the city will look toward. It's going to be a high-quality project and something that has been over, for us at least, 5 years in the making. We were working on that zoning and the guide and whatever you call it since 2008. So it's good to see some positive news at a time when the housing market seems to be recovering, or starting its recovery. So good news out there in the east part. Anything else? All right. Mr. Brady.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder, we have a study session this Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Thank you.
Boy, not a whole lot. Riveting. I have a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Summers, second Councilmember Richens. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.